a hearing or was it merely approval? I wasn't sure on that.
We did have 2 public hearings,
Right.
and that's.
I was aware of that. I was aware of that. I was just asking if this needed to be a hearing. Thank you. I just wanted to be clear that we didn't need to make a record of a hearing. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We have the sheriff on the line. I don't on the board.
Yes, he's there.
Dave, can I interrupt for just a second? I want to make sure, do we get a list of the names of everybody who agreed, who approved that last motion? I just wanted to be clear because this one we want to definitely have a good record on.
Yes, could each one of you sound off with your name, please, that you were part of that approval? Just one more time for the record on that. You will be digitally signing this.
Freddie.
Okay.
Brad.
Don.
Howard.
And just so everybody knows, Bob's fine. I don't think he's on yet. It's just his internet is a little bit sketchy where he's at, but I know he's working on getting on. So everything's kosher there. Do we have the sheriff to present to us the drug buy money fund issues?
Dave, typically, or a couple years ago, we funded drug buy money out of our TC unit. And the way that the COVID's going now, just kind of preparing for possibly a shortage in that, because that's where we get our inmates from Westville. And until they get their COVID issues taken care of, we're probably going to not take any inmates. So anyway, I done a little research on it, and there is in their plea bargains and sentencing, there are some stipulations where you have to pay the drug interdiction fee of like $187 and then like a $63 other fee that goes towards we could use it towards the drug buy money. Well, we looked up several cases and nobody has collected that fee.
You're saying that we as a county did not collect the fee, or they were given the bill, they just didn't pay it?
Either way, it's not taken care of. I guess what I was asking was, I had sent out an email and I asked Marty, can we take them to small claims, or can we do different avenues to try to collect that money and get it paid?
I was just going to ask Marty that. It sounds like small claims would be the best approach, but what's your opinion on that, Marty?
I'm sorry, I missed that email, Sheriff. Sorry. Well, I think the first thing we'd have to do is go through the court on that. I mean, ask the judge what his position on it is. He's the one that entered the order. I don't know if we can do an independent action to collect that or not, or whether that's part of that, whether it's incorporated in that decree. So I would have to ask the court's direction on that.
Okay.
I know it's a lot of times, I mean, just to be realistic, it's really hard to collect on fees that are associated with, judgments on on criminal cases, because simply they don't have a lot of assets.
But Marty, if their release is contingent on paying those, is there some way to enforce the contingency before they're even released, or is that not possible?
Well, I mean, it's up to the judge, of course, and so the judge have to make a determination on that. But I don't think the Constitution allows holding a person in jail because they haven't paid a bill. That's so it doesn't mean it's not enforceable, but it may not be enforceable by holding them in jail longer. Probably wouldn't be worth the money anyway, if you want to look at it that way. Frankly, it's more expensive keeping them than you're going to get out of them.
Would the best next step be for Bill to have with the judge, or should somebody from the county the judge, or what would be the best on your recommendation?
I don't mind. It might be easier for me to inquire to the judge actually than Bill. How do you feel about that, Bill? It's up to you, kind of.
It doesn't matter. I can reach out to him.
Yeah, see what he says about it, and if an independent action to collect that, no problem doing that. If they're not going to generate any revenue, if those orders, you see what I'm saying? If the court's going to take the position, and it well might, that those people are indigent and they can't, you know, you could have a judgment against them, but will you ever collect? It's the question, I guess.
Bill, now that's been in place for a couple of years, how much is usually required annually? I mean, I know it's hard to predict based on how many cases you have, but like on an average, like, I can't remember. It's not a huge amount of money, is it? Like,
No,
it's
last year we put in 5,000.
okay.
And again, that was, I mean, we knew what we had, so we didn't really ramp it up, you know, but if you got big cases and you got a lot of cases, obviously 5,000 will go through pretty quick.
I know some other counties fund some of that too with just things that like seizure of property and things like that, and then they sell it and they put it in that fund. Do we ever seize anything that we might be able to sell and put money into that account?
We do have a seizure attorney, but I'll be honest with you, in the last year or so, we haven't done that very much.
Okay. I mean, prospectively, do you think is something that we could start doing again, or do you think that's not feasible?
We can absolutely try it. I mean, we've got to work with the prosecutor's office to get that.
Okay. Do you want me to mention that to Leslie? You know, just that it was kind of a council idea, so it doesn't sound, you know, or would you rather ask Leslie about that?
It doesn't matter. I can email her.
Okay, let me know. I'd be happy to talk to her as well.
All right.
I think just in general, just going out to the council, I'll open it up to see if you all have anything else to add. But again, one of the things that we really need to be conscious of and watch is our revenue stream. We have had preliminary discussions, and we know that a lot of what we have here is funded by income tax. But again, people are buying less fuel, so Indiana's taking in less road tax. There's a lot of things that aren't going to affect us this year, but preparing for the pain of it in 21 and 22, we need to start looking at that now. So I just, you know, let's all this really keep a close eye on what's going on. Rachel, input from different, everybody's working on their budgets right now on budget workshop. I believe there is a universal understanding that we're asking everybody to cut. And I don't think that there should be any misunderstanding on why we want people to cut, and we want those cuts to be as deep as possible. So, you know, it's unavoidable. I mean, maybe we can pull out of it, and then, you know, we could try to backfill or make some changes later. But right now, everyone needs to cut as deeply as possible. Does anybody else from the council have anything else to add? Brad, I was hoping to see some scenery from some of the fields this morning.
A little wet, man.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if nobody else has any business with the council, and we can change over to the commissioners.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion from Fred. Is there a second?
Second.
One last.
Well, wait.
And we have discussion from Kathy. I think Kathy was talking to us. Kathy, did you have business for the council? Did somebody else have discussion for the council before we take a roster or adjourning? Hearing none, I'll ask everyone adjourning to say aye.
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 Is there any opposed? All in favor, Rachel. Mr. Chesak, I'll pass over to you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Dave. First up for us is the broadband plan with Katie Clark. Guess we have to discuss a little bit about that.
Just real quick, here in the waning seconds before the meeting, I did forward a draft of a broadband readiness ordinance to the commissioners. I don't know if it's probably in your email by now. It's a fairly straightforward ordinance. One thing that I wanted to preface this discussion about before we get into it is I think one of the key decisions that needs to be made is under the broadband readiness ordinance model. One thing you have to pick is a single point of contact for telecoms or others that are going to do communications projects in the county. Now, I suggested, just a suggestion, but I suggested that the Plan Commission might be the most obvious place to do that. It's a fairly significant burden on whoever takes over that because under the statute, we need to make a commitment to accept or deny any application for a project within 10 business days of the receipt. And typically these things are going to be like facilities or transmission facilities, that sort of thing. I think that's probably the most consistent thing. And just as a comment, so you kind of get a picture of what the broadband readiness ordinance and what the statute is like, really, I would describe it as one that provides assurances to companies that do these projects that they won't encounter any unexpected delays. So frankly, it's really for their benefit primarily. And that probably does, improve the chances of getting improvements in the county, but that is really, I think the way it works, basically. I don't know have you had a chance to, can any of you see the ordinance? Did you get your email on that by any chance? I could probably put it up on screen if you need to, but it's really quite straightforward. I think that was the main thing, is once again, deciding what body in the county you want to be the single point of contact for projects.
I didn't get to see that, Marty. I can't find it on here. Which email did you send it to?
I don't know. Let me send it again. Which one? Yeah, let me see here. I'll send it again. Oops. One second.
I got mine, Marty.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Okay, Charles, I resent that to you. It is pretty simple, really, though. It's not a lengthy thing. I think the key thing is that needs to be determined is whether you want to use the Plan Commission or whether you might have a different entity. I mean, theoretically, IT could do it, I suppose, but they're not really a permitting authority normally. That you need to have somebody who has some authority to review and maybe either accept or reject or maybe suggest changes to a permit application. That's the key thing.
So pretty much, Marty, your recommendation is the Planning Commission, right? What I'm reading.
It's frankly the only one I could think of that has the expertise and has been doing these kinds of things. I don't know where else you would go, because I mean, you could select a different entity to be the one to get the applications in, but it seems like the way I read the thing, they're also going to be the entity that's going to decide on them. And because the time frame is so short, 10 days, it's going to be hard to achieve. I mean, I'm sure that it's probably a little easier in a larger community, but in a small one like this, we don't always have meetings every 10 days. 10 business days. I mean, that's like 12 days, I guess, but still, that's a very short time frame to make a commitment to. And I think it's a little, I mean, frankly, it's kind of almost going to be hard to achieve here, I would say. Maybe 14 days would be very doable, but 10. So it's something that, wherever it goes, the Plan Commission meets once a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, 10 days, obviously, right? That could create a problem. I don't
If they accept all documents electronically.
Yeah, that part should be easy enough, I think, really, they can accept them, by email, really. I don't think you need a special port, setup to do that. And our IT department could do that anyway. I don't think that part's hard. I think the hardest part's the 10-day requirement, which is pretty severe, I think.
I know
Yeah,
that
it looks,
on the courtesy board, they've been doing a lot of accepting over your emails. Either accept or deny. So I can't see why we wouldn't be able to do this.
I mean, the commissioners could be the entity also. It seems like, you have more frequent meetings and you could certainly take on the responsibility yourself. And so I wouldn't discourage that. That seems like the only alternative I can think of, frankly. And then if you did it that way, then the auditor would be the entity to accept, the applications. So, and I drafted it to say Plan Commission, but I'm not promoting that. I just wanted to fill in the blanks. And this is really the first, meeting on this, and it'll be, I'm sure, subject to a certain amount of amendment before you do your final reading on it.
what do you think, Brian, on this then?
That looks pretty good.
'Cause I mean, we could deal with this, I believe. I mean, it'd be a lot easier if we have to meet at a certain time, so than a certain amount of days.
I kind of go with what's Kathy think, eh? What?
I don't think we have her on right now.
No, she was here. She's off now.
Might have lost her connection. Another thing you can do, I mean, the way I read the statute, the ordinance will give the commissioners the authority to designate the entity that's going to review these. Now, you could just take the job on at the beginning, and then if you feel like it's becoming burdensome, you could, decide to move it over to the Plan Commission at that point. And that, the 10-day rule would be much easier to meet with the commissioners, because you do meet twice a month, and a lot of times you meet three or four times by the time you get done, actually. So,
Right.
and in a pinch, on a big project, you could do a special meeting. So, that's definitely a way you could go at it too. I don't think there's any question that you have the legal authority to take that on if you want to.
The only thing I see, we put a lot of burden on Rachel. She's got a lot of things going on now, and that's where the Planning Commission might be a lot easier on her, especially with all the things she's got on her table right now. What do you think, Charlie?
Well, could we, trying to think here, because I mean, it's dealing with permits and stuff, so I guess I would feel that the Planning Commission should deal with it a little bit.
I'd make a motion, we accept this as written.
I'll second it.
Aye.
All those in favor, aye.
It certainly gives you the authority to amend it, and so your experience, it's hard to say. One of the things I don't know, whether are you going to get 10 permits like this a year? You're going to get one a year. It might not be that. It might be rather infrequent. So it may not be a problem. So anyway,
Right.
and I'd like to hope that the contractors would be sort of understanding that. I mean, if it says 10 days, if you didn't, if they didn't get to it for like 12 days, I hope they wouldn't lose their mind over that, because it is a small community. I don't know.
Right. Did we need to speak with Katie and I think
Yes.
I think Sean was, I think she was on here for this too, I believe.
Good morning.
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 Katie, do we need to identify a specific individual as well?
For the application process, yes, you have to have a specific name. But in the event you would want the plan commission to do it, it could just be kind of the chair of that commission. That contact person can kind of update. The IEDC just needs to know the one name at the time of your application.
Katie, could it be like whoever is acting as essentially the secretary or the office person in case that, because sometimes we have people that are in those positions that are obviously they're not actually on staff, you know, and you know, it seems like, you know, we could pick the staff, you know, the staff person that is delivering them materials. Does that make sense? Because they might be more responsive that way.
Yeah, I think in some of the other communities we've done this for, we've had the same kind of thing. It's just the one person that could then distribute the information the easiest. So if there's somebody already handling that role in Plan Commission, or if it's another department, they absolutely can kind of take the application they get and send it off to a committee for review and discussion. I think they're just trying to streamline the process by appointing one person that could get the initial call.
That person doesn't need to be listed in the ordinance either, right? That's just the application. So if they're the designee of the plan commission, that would be satisfactory for your purposes.
Correct. Yep.
Marty, we could probably put Ann Starkey, she's the secretary for the planning commission. I mean, could we use her?
That sounds right to me. Yeah.
I think we better have somebody down as, you know, to plan on it, so. I think she would fit the spot, so.
And you can put that in the minutes. So that could be in the minutes. It doesn't need to be in the ordinance in this case, you know, I
Right.
think.
On that?
Yeah. Oh,
There's one other thing, which is the fee for the permit. And, you know, I assume, the way I took it, and Katie, maybe you can correct me on this, is basically it's just the usual and customary fee for an application in that, you know, so whatever they're currently using for their fee at the plan commission ought to work here. I know they don't have any extravagant fees either, I can tell you that.
Yes, that's the way we've interpreted everything, and we've confirmed it with the IEDC. You can charge a fee for this. It just has to be in line with what you've already established for other projects. So it can't be crazy high. They recognize that you might want to recapture some money to cover administrative costs and review process, things like that. So as long as it's in line with what you've already offered, you should be fine.
I don't know well, I know Kathy had some stuff on this, I think, but she's not on here, so.
Charlie, I just called Kathy and left her a message to see if she could get back on for Rachel.
Okay.
You know?
I mean, I suppose we can move ahead with this, and if she gets back on, maybe we can go back to it. Rick, you're up next on the bid opening for Range Road and 250 North.
Okay, yes, as you said, it's the opening bids for the two community crossings projects, 250 North from 35 to Range Road and Range Road from State Road 10 to Toto Road. Rachel, I believe you have the bids in your office.
yes, I do. I have 3 bids. They were all received in a timely manner. All the bids are currently unopened. Marty, is there anything that I need to do before I open the bids?
Well, you've done what you need to, which is that if you could just list who you received bids from. How many did you get?
3.
3 bids. One is from Fenton Brown, another Ruth Riley, and EMB Paving.
You can go ahead and open them then. This is a little different than we usually do it, but that I can't do it from here.
Okay, the first bids that we're gonna go through will be for Range Road from State Road 10 to Toto Road. For Fend and Brown from Milford, Indiana. Their bid amount is $823,304. That is 823,304.00. The next bid is from Ruth Riley from LaPorte, Indiana. Their bid is $670,000, 967, 670,967.00. Next is EMB Paving from Rochester, Indiana. Their total bid amount is $804,458. It's 804,458.00. And that is for Range Road, State Road 10, and Toto Road.
I'm not telling you. Maybe give me the paper and the pencil in case.
The next bid set will be for County Road 250 North from Range Road to US 35. The first bid is from E&B Paving from Rochester, Indiana. Total bid amount is $927,290. 927,290.00. Second bid is from Ruth Riley from LaPorte, Indiana. $779,308. 779,308.00. Third, from Fendon Brown from Milford, Indiana. Their total bid amount is $943,725, 943,725.00. And that is all the bids that we have received.
Okay, in both projects, the low bid was underneath the engineer's estimate. The Range Road estimate was $716,470, and the low bid by Ruth Riley was $670,967. And on 250 North, the engineer's estimate was $844,180, and the Ruth Riley estimate was $779,308. I'm going to recommend that you conditionally approve this bid based on, we're gonna check the numbers later today with Mark Wilson. But if the number's clear, I recommend the conditional acceptance of the Reith Riley bid.
You make a motion on that, Brian?
Yeah, I make a motion, we accept for the 10 to Toto Road on Range Road from Reith Riley for $670,967. And also 250 North from Range to 35 to Reith Riley for $779,308.
Brian, I'd recommend that you make that conditional on the review by the superintendent and his, crew.
I agree with that, and we'll make it conditional on the highway superintendent.
I'll second that. All those in favor? Aye.
That's it.
You,
Next on our agenda is the vacation of the St. Pierre lots from Argento.
Charlie, if you don't mind, I'm gonna say a few things about this.
Yep, that's fine.
I talked to a few people that were not in favor of this vacation, and they are on the line. We're gonna unmute them so they can talk. But I just wanted, I hope everybody can see my screen. I want to clarify a few things because there was quite a few misunderstandings about where this property was. So where we're vacating this is right here where my mouse is. This little section here. Right north of that, I believe this is Clay Street. So this was platted years ago as a possible Clay Street to connect Petro, which is up here, and then White down here. It is not, one of the individuals thought that it was this piece of property right here. This property right here is already owned by Argento, by that company. So it is not this piece of property. It is this that was supposed to be Clay Street someday. And Marty, correct me if I'm wrong, but if this piece is vacated, each owner would get a piece of this section. It would not all go to the petitioner who is vacated, correct?
Well, I would say technically his petition would be to vacate the part that is to the center line adjacent to his property.
Okay, so this little section right here only.
Right. I don't think, that he can, I don't think he has authority to petition for, yeah, right, exactly what you're showing there. This is the center line adjacent to his property.
Okay, so this section.
I think the other people would have to join in the petition, not just not object to it. You see what I'm saying? And obviously, if it were approved, it wouldn't go to him anyway, because the abutting landowner is the one who gets it.
Right.
Right, makes sense. And he owns lots number 41 and 47, correct?
Yes, correct.
Argento, I should say Argento Corporation, but he owns Argento Corporation.
Okay. Argento, yes. So
Yeah.
he would this section right here.
Right, exactly. That's my opinion.
Now, Charlie, you may want to open it up to anybody that's on the call for this.
Okay, I'll open up for comments and concerns about this vacancy.
Yeah, this is Thomas DeCole of Argento LLC, and with the petition of vacation, I just followed Indiana code, and it meets all the requirements of vacation, and it's obvious that when you vacate alleyways, that half of it, the alleyway, goes to the adjoining landowner. Now, those platted St. Pierre Town, that was platted probably back in the 1800s. So anyways, yeah, I'd like to get all the alleyways surrounding the 3 original lots that I have in St. Pierre vacated, and the Clay Street.
I would just interject. He's right, of course. It also includes to the center line of the alleys. We didn't talk about that, but that's right.
Yeah, that's all I have to say on that. And actually, there's only one person that objected, and I don't think she understood. It was Stacy Darlene, and she had a wrong address listed in the noticing addresses. But anyways, she was thinking that it was like going to be like extended out, vacated in the sense of removing vegetation. I didn't think she understood vacating right away.
Brian, what do you think on this here?
The only thing is,
Was there anybody else that had comments?
This is Darlene Stacy, and I just like, it's like that land seems like it's like landlocked, and like I say, I don't see the need for putting more traffic back there and disrupting, I mean, to have to acquire, land like that. I mean, it's why they can't just go ahead and, I mean, if somebody wants to build a house, why they can't build a house with regular land? Why do they have to take land that's already, used for other purposes? And then, like I say, the wildlife and things, it still is around there. I mean, it's around there. So I still object to it. I just still object to it,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right now, if there ain't no other concerns or comments, so,
This is Janet.
yes.
Vacating means that no road Clay Street could not be extended, correct? It would be closed, a street would not be going through there.
Right. I believe so.
That's right. And also the alleyway.
Mhm.
No alley would be put through there.
Your question is there couldn't be a alleyway, right? Is that what your question is?
Correct.
Okay. Is that how there couldn't be no Marty on this? There couldn't be nothing with an alleyway put in, right?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, legally, the alleyway is there. It's an easement. It could be used, it could be used to put a road through, but also, of course, alleyways are used for utilities like electrical lines and telecommunication lines, like internet, fiber, that sort of thing. Or maybe if San Pierre ever had a sewer, it could be used for sewer or water line. So they have more functions than as roadways. Yeah. But I think but that said, I think it's fair to say that if you cut these rights of way into half, that it would be unlikely that a road would ever be put through there. It might still be room on the part remaining to put a utility easement through, though. So that's kind of a yes, I'm sorry.
If it's closed, then they wouldn't be able to put utility through, correct?
I don't want to close the alleyway.
Well, the thing is, in my opinion, Mr. DeCola's petition would take his share, if it's approved, would take the share that's pertinent to his lot, but it wouldn't apply to the if the person across the street didn't join in the petition, there'd still be half of that right of way left afterwards.
I see.
I mean, I don't like that idea. I mean, if you're going to vacate an alleyway and I vacate my half and they don't want to vacate their half, I mean, why would you make a sidewalk through the woods just for any trespasser to go in there and cause trouble? I mean, another reason I want to vacate it is to prevent trespassing around my property.
Well, the reason is you don't own that. You know, you don't have any right to that property that's on the other side. So they have the right to do with it. They don't have to, you know, if they join in your petition, sure, then you'd split it. But you don't, obviously you don't get beyond the center line because you don't have any right to the part beyond the center line. And if they want to do
I'm
it,
not
they,
stating that.
no, I know you're not.
I'm
I
not
know you're not, but
stating
I'm just saying, if that easement would still be there, unless they decide to do the same thing, which, they'd probably have a pretty compelling case if yours had been approved to abandon the other side, but they'd have to take that action.
Uh,
I don't
I
like
don't,
that.
what do you think, Brian?
I don't like the idea of the alleyway there. Rachel, can you kind of point out where I'm talking about? This alleyway here, I don't know about, I don't like the idea of vacating that. I thought we were just working on this other part over here, right? That's the part I thought we were working with. I don't like getting rid of alleyways like they said with all the utilities and stuff coming through. I think they need to stay.
Well, usually, I don't know, the way I feel it, the county has it, and I don't like seeing people just giving up rights or ground. I think the county in the past hasn't gave up too much. I think we should hold to that on this. I just
Now,
don't
what
like
utilities are you talking about? There's no utilities that go through there.
Utilities in the future, for example, and there may be none there now, but those alleys are available. For example, we just talked about this broadband readiness plan. One of the features of the broadband readiness plan is that telecommunications providers have pretty open access to any dedicated public easements, and this would be in that category, even though it hasn't been developed. It could be used for an easement for, like I said, telecommunications or water or sewer in the future.
I mean, so why couldn't they just use the right of way of White Street and Petro Street and the other streets? I mean, it makes no sense to preserve right of ways in undeveloped areas of St. Pierre when they've been platted under an 1800s type planning. I mean, the reason for vacation is to create buildable space to establish septic tanks and plans for housing. To preserve that type of easements for future broadband is absolutely erroneous, considering people have Wi-Fi hotspots on their phone like I do now. I mean, broadband is a thing of the past. Your suggestions or statements regarding this issue is totally erroneous and is preventing the growth and the economic development of that area.
Well, since we have one of the property owners does not want this to go through, I would recommend we do not vacate and make that motion.
I mean, what board is this? Is this the commissioners?
Commissioners.
Where's is Cheswick there?
Yep.
And Cavender?
Yep.
And Norham?
No,
Where's
she-
Norham at?
She's not on right now.
Okay, so the decision needs to be made amongst Cheswick, Cavender, and Norham.
It only takes 2 votes.
I'd recommend that you close the public hearing at this point.
I'll close the public hearing at this time.
No, they closed it.
Brian, you were making a motion then?
Yes, I did. I made a motion that we do not vacate right now.
I'll second that. All those in favor? Aye. We'll move on the agenda. Next up would be Sheriff. Is he on here yet?
Yeah, I'm on here.
Hmm.
You me go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay. The sheriff's office usually gets 2 vehicles out of Cume Cap, except for last year, which was purchased from JLC. That we usually get 2 vehicles. Those vehicles apiece are between 34 and 38,000. I'm asking for permission from the commissioners to put that in the total of the 2 vehicles into a line item and allow me to purchase what they call salvage vehicles. And again, we've kind of briefly discussed this, that it's not going to be flood damage, electrical damage, frame damage, or anything like that. It's just minor body work. I think that we can get more money out of it or more vehicles doing this rather than the 2 new vehicles. I think we can probably purchase between 3 and 4 used vehicles, and then of course they're going to have low mileage on them.
I think I don't know. I'd like to think on that right now. I think we had a couple things we're concerned with, but on that,
I think you're right. So, I mean, I think we at least wait till the next meeting before we decide. And but I do agree with the ones that no one's to buy. I think those are going to be. I think that's a good choice. Of like the salvage title or wherever he's got working on that there. But I would really like to at least wait till the next meeting to give a decision.
Okay.
Charlie, do you mind if I just weigh in on that?
yeah, go ahead.
Personally, as a councilman, I like the idea of buying used vehicles, so I'm not saying anything against that. But as far as creating line items for capital expenditure items, capital expenditures by guidance of the state of Indiana, you should be reviewing those, and also the fiscal body should also review those. So I feel like creating a line for that is not a good idea, because then, or any type of capital expenditure, because then any office holder can just take from that line and then just purchase out of there. I believe that when it comes to capital expenses, that the commission, the county executive, should review every one of those purchases. So again, I would be totally for used vehicles. We bought used ambulance. There's probably going to be more used, and I didn't know if Bill may have already pointed this out, but there's a lot of downsizing going on across the United States with police departments because of COVID and budgets and things. So there may be equipment available that is right for us to buy. But again, I think a line item is not a good way to go for that. In fact, I doubt the council will approve that, but that's just an opinion.
I guess what I'm asking is just a lump sum. I mean, you guys can review whatever purchases we're doing. I have no problem with that. I was just thinking it would be easier to do it because you have to be a dealer in order to purchase these vehicles.
Can you get us some pricing on some stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
On that. And
it would be through Copart. I'm not sure if you and Dave are familiar with that, but it's a dealer website that you can do online bidding. And unfortunately with the COVID, that's how it's done now. I believe that you can also go to the lots and look at the vehicles. And again, I wouldn't purchase anything with frame damage or flood damage, electric damage. I'm not going to do that. Did you guys get the email where I attached some of the vehicles on there?
Yeah, I seen that. I seen that.
Okay. Any questions you want to ask me, Charlie? I mean, what the hang up or anything?
Not right now. I was just wanting to think about it more is all.
Okay.
So I think, like Brian said, next meeting, we'll have more of an idea on this.
Okay.
So. Then I see you got grant approval request.
Yeah, I'll let you talk to Pam about that. She's the one who's been in contact with the National Sheriff's Association and Bureau of Justice.
Okay.
I'll let you talk to her real quick.
We got an email from NSA with a group called Integrity that is willing to go in and fill out all parts of the grant for the FEMA grant. I know we sent you the information on the FEMA grant, if you've got time to look over that. We need approval to sign the contract, of course. And then Integrity is going to charge a fee, but that fee is paid by FEMA, which was included in what Bill had sent. And then he sent a list of all the stuff that it covers. And then they also offered to work with you guys as well. It's a 75-25 match. They said the state of Indiana will match the 25%. So they said you can be a separate entity on the grant received from us, if that's something you guys are interested in as well.
Could you kind of repeat that a little bit? The first part when you were speaking, I couldn't hardly hear you, I guess. But sorry.
We'll trade seats. Maybe that'll work better. So we have a FEMA grant that was sent to us for NSA for COVID. So it would be to reimburse like PPE. There's a few other things that it can do in there. Any kind of overtime due to the COVID. A few other things. I know he sent you the paperwork on the listing. The Integrity Group is a company that is going to fill out the grant for us. They charge a fee. That fee is paid by FEMA. And it is a 75% grant that they would pay to us. And then the state of Indiana would do a local match of 25%. They offered to also to get you guys into it too, that they would work for you guys and apply for the grant for you guys as well.
All right. So basically you just need our approval on that.
Yeah, we need the approval just to move forward with the contract with FEMA.
Pam, you probably sent that to me. I mean, I've gotten so much stuff like this lately. It's really hard to keep up, to be honest with you. You probably did send that to me already?
Did we send it to Marty? Yeah, we did, but we could send it again. It's no problem.
Well, and that sounds non-controversial. I would only say that if you decide to go ahead and approve it, if you would approve it subject to my review in case I have a problem. It sounds, those kind of things are generally not controversial. They're stock, and but I should look at it before it actually becomes effective, probably.
Okay.
Pam, how do they get paid again?
I'm sorry.
How do they get paid again?
I can't understand you. How does it read?
How do they get paid?
How does Integrity get paid? They get paid from FEMA. All their fees are included in the grant.
Is that less money that would be coming to us, or is that like an upcharge to FEMA?
I believe it's an upcharge. They have a flat fee, and then in the FEMA grant it says that any fees accrued by writing the grant consultants is paid.
I guess we can make a motion then. Brian, you want to make a motion that we approve this upon Marty's approval at the end?
Yep. If Marty decides that this is a good way to go, yes, I would make that motion.
And it sounds like there's a question. I mean, it sounds like what Pam's saying is right. Probably it's an upcharge, but if it's not, I think I should, hold on that, right? And you'll review it again at the next meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense, Pam? See what I'm saying?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So that was your motion, Brian. I'll second that. All those in favor? Aye. Now we can move on to the approval of the payroll. Is there a motion on that, Brian?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then is there a motion to approve the vendor claims as presented?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. And then motion to approve the minutes from April 22nd, 2020.
So moved.
I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. And then we gotta discuss a little bit about the park board website.
So the park board received 3 quotes for a website. They selected the same provider that does our county website. The total cost was $3,500. The park board does have some money to pay for the website, and but the park board is asking that we pay for half of it out of Cume Cap, which Dave just said makes sense. So
How much was that? How much was it?
as council president, he's in agreement. It would be like $1,750.
That
And
was
just
half.
for the record, the other part is being funded by money from the forest, the Stark County Forests, which is funded from timber harvests on the property.
Where do you want to pay that from, Brian?
Yeah, we'll do the 1750 from Cume Cap, and the other, I guess, come out from the forest.
Is that your motion? I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, then the GIS contract, I believe that was with Lee Nagy, his surveying company for up there by Hamlet, I believe.
Yes, usually the GIS contracts do cost several $1,000s, but our company WTH, when surveying companies partner with government entities, they do not charge them as long as they do not use their information for any kind of profit of their own, only work done on this in this area would be the town of Hamlet. So only the town of Hamlet, but they are not allowed to use that information for anything else other than the town of Hamlet.
Rachel, do you have like a rider that you add to the contracts when you've done that in the past?
Yeah, we approved I think 1 or 2 last year, and those contracts, they actually had to pay for the shape files because they used it for their own personal gain.
So what you're suggesting is in this case, we need like a rider that says only to be used for governmental applications by the town of Hamlet?
I think it says, it does say in there, by use of Timmins to create a local zoning map for the town of Hamlet.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so they're just using it to make the zoning on that. I think I'd be fine with that. That's all they're doing with it, so.
Sound good. Had to make a motion that we accept the GIS contract.
I'll second that. All those in favor? Aye. Then EMA COVID-19 eligible relief funds.
I think Jay's just gonna give you a rundown of what is available, what she's applied for.
Okay.
And unmuted. Okay, FEMA is doing the PA, which I'm trying to figure out, is this company that the sheriff's department was talking about? Is that what they're going to take over? Because because FEMA is going to do the overtime, any PPE we have, anything that qualifies for category B, we can upload to FEMA in the grants portal. Is this what the sheriff's department was talking about for that company to do? is my question.
Your grant would be separate from ours.
Okay, so is not going to cover all departments, or how is that working? I don't want to double dip and I don't want to cross.
Okay, so if you apply for the FEMA grant, like through this integrity company, then you would be a recipient, and then we would apply on our own and we would be a sub-recipient. So then they would cover anything, expenses for the county and then also for the sheriff's department, but separately.
Okay, because it kind of sounded like the PA portion of FEMA, which is category B. And that's why I was asking.
Okay.
And the reason I was asking is because Marshall County, similar company come in to do something similar, that they said FEMA would pick up the fees, but then FEMA didn't. That was my concern. That's why I was asking. If that's making more sense now. I didn't want anyone get holding a bag or cross anything. The grants I have been coming across are for PPE. I have gotten the coroner, the refrigerated trailer, which is at the sheriff's department. I have N95 mask, I have the surgical mask, and I have gloves and oodles of hand sanitizer. I tagged on to a grant over in District 1 for more PPE, but my problem has become that I can find the grants for the PPE stuff. I can find grants to cover our overtime. And that's about where we're at right now. And I have a list of grants that we can apply for also. Any questions?
I think we better, if we can get grants, I think we better make sure we try getting them.
Okay, what particular grants? It would help me to know what particular grants you want me to shoot for and focus on the most, and what is like secondary.
Well, anything that covers the PPE, I guess.
Okay.
The big thing, so we
And
have
that's what my big focus has been, is making sure we have PPE, because I got like 3,000 like surgical masks, and combine that with the KN95 mask, which is a step up from surgical, but a step down from the 95. So I have that in here, and we have about 14 gallons of hand sanitizer. And there's about 3,000 surgical masks combination between the KN95 and regular surgical mask. And I did give some of the N95 mask out to one of the fire departments. So we have about 85 left in my office right now. And we also have gloves. They're only mediums. That's all I could get was mediums. And like I said, I tagged on to a grant in District 1 for more PPE. So we have that coming in at some point.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's our biggest concern. Make sure we have that here for, availability. So.
Yes.
Hey, just so the commissioners know, the one grant that we are looking into through the BJA, the deadline is May 29th.
Okay.
I mean, some of these grants are time sensitive.
Yes. Yes, they are.
So that was that one that you asked us about then, Bill?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of them, it's through that integrity group. We need to, like I said, the timeline is about 11 days away from now.
Right. So that's before our next meeting then. So.
Charlie, this is Dave. Could I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
Just curious that there was one fire department supported with this. I'm just curious, what's the process for that? Do the commissioners approve that? It's just fire departments are a township entity. We're a county entity. Obviously, we need PPE for all of our employees throughout the county. So how do we go about that? How do we determine that one fire department? I mean, honestly, when it comes to grants, there has to be some kind of integrity to how that decision is made. But then also, how do we determine which fire department receives those types of county benefits?
This particular PPE came from the state, and it had a requisite of where it went.
So were all the fire departments notified that this was available?
Yes, I sent out a mass notification to all fire chiefs, all police departments, EMS. I actually gave out some of the surgical masks to Travis, like 200 of them Travis got. I have given some to the auditor's office. They have to let me know they need them, and they're not. But let me know, I get them to them as soon as I can.
Can you make sure the auditor always gets a copy of that, please? Sorry, Charlie, I'm not trying to overstep.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
No, I actually CC Rachel in on that.
Okay. Because I talked to Brad about that, and I don't think Brad had seen that either, you know, but.
Yeah, that's a big thing. We need to make sure they're covered, so.
Well,
Yeah,
at
and
least
that's why I sent that huge notification out to all the fire chiefs.
we have to help all.
Yeah.
I'm
That's-
assuming the emails are up to date in the portal that we pull all our emails from for the fire chiefs, correct?
Should be, but I'm just making that point that if we help one, it's just, we have to help all, is all I'm saying. There's 7 fire departments and.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, and I am very much on board with that, but they also have to let me know they need them.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I think what Dave's saying is maybe you should help split that up because maybe some of the fire chiefs don't understand that they need to talk to you and apply about that for that.
And the other point is I believe, and the dispatch, I believe we're trying to avoid as much as possible fire departments responding to COVID-19 calls. Is that also correct? I thought that's what we talked about in a previous commissioners meeting.
I believe so. I think we talked about something with that.
I believe they're stepping up on their questions that they're asking the people when we get the call. And we, as Hamlet, have not been called to any that were a COVID case. So I think they're doing a great job.
Excellent.
It sounds like we're all trying to work together on this. It's something new, kind of tough.
But Jay, if you can just make sure, that they get the emails and then hopefully they respond and, then you can get them the PPE they need, so.
Yeah, because even the hospital has reached out to me on body bags that they need. And I'm trying to get that for them right now through the state or any other avenue I can think of that I can pull from.
Mhm.
If I know they need it, I am more than happy to bust my tuchus to get it for them. And like I said, that's the coroner told me he needs a refrigerated trailer. I got it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm still looking for cots though. I will say that.
Well, keep working on it, so. Is there anything else we need to discuss on that? I think we can move ahead. Next up be the IT assistant pay.
Charlie, on that one there, I'd just like to make a motion. To make the IT assistant pay at $17.65 per hour.
And I'll second that. All those in favor, aye. Is there anything else needs to come before this board to discuss?
Charlie, can Bernadette come before us and at least remind the voters of when the absentee voting is?
Yep. Mm-hmm. You there, Bernadette?
Bernadette,
I was trying to get unmuted. I'm sorry. Thanks, Rachel. You kind of caught me off guard here. But yes, absentee voting will begin next Tuesday. Be voting here in the courthouse from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Those will be our hours for those 5 days. Closed on Sunday, of course, and we open back up on Monday. According to state statute, we vote the day before election from 8 a.m. until noon. And then when that is over, voting will be done until Election Day, which was the following day. And we will be voting in 7 areas. It will be precinct based still, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And what else do you want to know, Rachel?
You're good. That's it.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
I see Edwin Buswell here. Edwin, did you have something you wanted to report to the commissioners?
No, Sean had just said you were having some discussions, so I hopped on, but I think the Okra grant, we're just waiting to get the signed grant agreement back from Okra, I believe.
Okay. Okay, if there ain't, does anyone else have anything for us? If not, make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. Thanks, everyone.
You got it.